Hi, welcome back to the Mellow Way. My name is Tui, and this channel is all about having a more laid-back approach to life. I create content designed to reduce stress, improve your outlook on life, and increase your contentment. There are many times in life when we can feel lost, directionless, and lonely. This has happened in my life many times, and usually during those periods, I usually go into my head, I become very withdrawn, which further increases the feelings of loneliness and disconnection. When you're feeling like this, it can be really hard to motivate yourself to try and seek solutions to what's going on. It can be so difficult. But I know in my experience and what I've done in the past, when I start focusing on finding a solution, whether it's reading books, Googling it on the internet, or listening to speakers or lecturers who share their life experiences or their knowledge from what they've gone through in their lives, I always feel so much more uplifted. I feel a new sense of life, possibility. Today, I wanted to share 5 TED Talks that really impacted my life that I found very inspiring and uplifting. I hope you enjoy. The first video is by a psychologist called Guy Winch. He talks about the concept of emotional first aid and how we overvalue our bodies and we don't pay any attention to our mind, and how our perception can distort our reality. It's a bit of a slow burner, so continue watching till the end. I got a lot of benefit from it, and it really changed my outlook on things.
Loneliness isn't the only psychological wound that distorts our perceptions and misleads us. Failure does that as well. I once visited a daycare center where I saw 3 toddlers play with identical plastic toys. You had to slide the red button and a cute doggy would pop out. One little girl tried pulling the purple button, then pushing it, and then she just sat back and looked at the box with her lower lip trembling. The little boy next to her watched this happen, then turned to his box and burst into tears without even touching it. Meanwhile, another little girl tried everything she could think of until she slid the red button, the cute doggy popped out, and she squealed with delight. So, 3 toddlers with identical plastic toys but with very different reactions to failure. The first 2 toddlers were perfectly capable of sliding a red button. The only thing that prevented them from succeeding was their mind, tricked them into believing they could not.
The next video is by Sir Ken Robinson. It is called Do Schools Kill Creativity? It's a very entertaining TED Talk. In this video, he talks about how a lot of the public school systems around the world don't nurture creativity. In fact, they undermine it. And how this can actually affect people for the rest of their lives, the choices that they make and the careers that they go into. I found this incredibly uplifting. And if you find yourself in school maybe not thriving or feeling that you were a failure, this outlook and perspective will really help you.
What these things have in common, you see, is that kids will take a chance. If they don't know, they'll have a go. Am I right? They're not frightened of being wrong. Now, I don't mean to say that being wrong is the same thing as being creative. What we do know is, if you're not prepared to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original. If you're not prepared to be wrong. And by the time they get to be adults, most kids have lost that capacity. They have become frightened of being wrong. And we run our companies this, by the way. We stigmatize mistakes. And we're now running national education systems where mistakes are the worst thing you can make. And the result is that we are educating people out of their creative capacities. Picasso once said this. He said that all children are born artists. The problem is to remain an artist as we grow up. I believe this passionately, that we don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it. Or rather, we get educated out of it.
The next video is by a man called Jia Jiang, and it is titled, What I Learned from 100 Days of Rejection. I absolutely loved this TED Talk. It was very entertaining, and it really had a very profound message that obviously many people struggle with rejection and failure in their lives. But when you actually go out and ask for what you want, the opportunities you can gain in your life are incredible. I highly recommend this video. It'll really change your perspective on things.
I came downstairs and saw this big guy sitting behind the desk. He looked like a security guard. So I just approached him, and I was just walking, and that was the longest walk in my life. I just hair at the back of my neck, standing up. I was sweating, and my heart was pounding. And I got there and said, "Hey, sir, can I borrow $100 from you?" And he looked up. He's like, "No." "Why?" And I said, "No, I'm sorry." Then I turned around and just ran. I felt so embarrassed. But because I filmed myself, so that night I was watching myself getting rejected, I just saw how scared I was. I looked like this kid in Sixth Sense. I saw dead people. But then I saw this guy, he wasn't that menacing. He was chubby, lovable guy, and he even asked me why. In fact, he invited me to explain myself. I could have said many things. I could have explained, I could have negotiated. I didn't do any of that. All I did was run.
Why You Will Fail to Have a Great Career, a TED Talk by Larry Smith. This is, again, a slow burner, but I highly recommend it because the message at the end is very, very important. I don't want to give too much away, but essentially he talks about the barriers and the struggles that we face as human beings, finding a sense of purpose, finding a sense of direction in our life, and how many things can get in the way and rob us from our dreams.
Then your other excuse is, yes, there are special people who pursue their passions, but they are geniuses. They are Stephen Jay. I'm not a genius. When I was 5, I thought I was a genius, but my professors have beaten that idea out of my head long since.
The final video is from a man called John Francis. It's called Walk the Earth, my 17-year vow of silence. I wasn't sure if I was going to get much from watching this video, but it was incredibly inspiring. And it really showed how one individual can make such a beautiful difference in this world, and how activism on a personal level can really improve your personal development, but what a beautiful impact it can have on the world and the people around you. I really recommend it. It's brilliant. From a psychological perspective, it's really, really interesting to see how much we don't actually listen to other people, and how if we start listening, we can live in a more harmonious and happy environment.
And during that time, I actually taught classes without speaking. And I had 13 students when I first walked into the class, and I explained with a friend who could interpret my sign language that I was John Francis. I was walking around the world. I didn't talk, and this is the last time this person's going to be here interpreting for me. All the students sat around and they went, I could see they were looking for the schedule to see when they could get out. They had to take that class with me. 2 weeks later, everyone was trying to get into our class. And I learned in that class because I would do things like this. And they're all gathering around, go, what's he trying to say? I don't know. I think he's talking about clear cutting. Yeah, clear cutting. No, that's not clear cutting. That's, he's using a handsaw. Well, you can't clear cut with a hand. Yes, you can clear cut. No, I think he's talking about selective forestry. Now, this was a discussion class, and we were having a discussion. I just backed out of that, and I just kind of kept the fist from flying. But what I learned was that sometimes I would make a sign, and they said things that I absolutely did not mean. But I should have. And so what came to me was, if you were a teacher and you were teaching, if you weren't learning, you probably weren't teaching very well.
So if you're feeling a bit stuck in your life, or you're just looking for something to make you feel a bit more connected to this world, I highly recommend checking out all of those videos. If you have any inspiring TED Talks that you've watched, put them in the comments below. I'm always looking for things to open my mind and broaden my perspective, so I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.